It is Rick Ginn, and today, on today's live, we are talking all about the top 10 virtual markets. And some of you are, I think, going to be surprised, and some of you might be a little ticked off because I got to give you full disclosure before I start. My job is not to, if you're living in these markets, I'm not trying to send people your way, but I do give out free information, and honestly, they're going to figure it out anyway. So I don't look at people as competition. I look at as either collaboration, or they're going to incite me to do better in my own wholesaling market. So if you guys are new to this channel, my name is Rick Ginn, and I am the Rick in Flip with Rick. I've been doing wholesaling for over 20 years. I do multiple markets. I specialize in the Florida market, and I absolutely love this business. So you guys probably know my son, Zachary Ginn, and he goes by Zach mostly. And we work together and collaborate on our wholesaling business. And what we do is we come back here on Flip with Rick and we share with you our successes in our business, what we actually do, so you can duplicate it. And we actually teach you for free over at freewholesaling.com. If you are brand new to this, do me a favor, make sure you go over to freewholesaling.com. You'll see it on the bottom there. Oh, I got it up twice. Let me fix that. And let me see. Let's see. How do I get that off there? I'll figure it out. So it's down in the right-hand corner. You can't miss it on that. And let me get that off of there. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So what I want you to do on today's live, I'm going to take the first 20, 30 minutes, probably 30 minutes, because it's a little bit more today. Might be like 45. And we're going to go through these markets. So if you have a comment, use the comment section to ask any of your questions about wholesaling. In particular, any questions you have in relations to wholesaling. And I don't care if you've never done a deal or you've done like 1,000. If you have a question, let's answer it. We are here to help you get solutions. Complaining is not going to help you. I'll listen to you, but I can't help you if you complain. So use the right-hand side, put in your comments, tell me what market you're in. And if you have a question, put it in there. I'll answer it as fast as I can. Be patient with me. Also, if you guys want to go on and do a live with me, you just click the link. You go in the Wholesaling Houses for Real, our Facebook group, the largest and most active wholesaling group out there. If anybody wants to challenge me or Zach on that, I am happy to do it. And it's not only based on members, it's it's based on the amount of great content and sharing in the community in there. And that's what we do best. We don't allow spam in there. We only talk about real estate. So if that interests you, go over to Wholesaling Houses for Real. Make sure you're subscribed to both our YouTube channels, Rick and Zach Ginn, and then the Wholesaling Houses for Real. And from there, you can click the link in that top box and it will get you access to do a one-on-one. And the really cool thing is it's 100% free. And since me and Zach have nothing to sell you, we're just going to give you the truth. You're going to find most people that do these live interactions, it's nothing more than a big pep rally. It's a big promo to get you into their course. Once you get in the course, then I'll give you everything you need. Me and Zach remove that barrier. So for that, just make sure you follow the rules. Go over to Wholesaling Houses for Real if you want to figure out how to get the link. It's all in there. The reason we do it that way is so we know who we're talking about. So if somebody wants to get on here and just be negative, we just save a lot of time by finding out who you are and making sure you never do it again. So, and if before you think I'm like this brilliant scientist that like studies data all in, I don't do any of that crap. I always look where people are having success, and I look at trends in the market. If you can get those two items and you want to do virtual wholesaling, and if you don't know what virtual wholesaling, just when you wholesale outside of your local area. So I'm in Florida. If I decide to go to Georgia, if I decide to go to Virginia, if I decide to go to Colorado, if I decide to go to Utah, that would be virtual marketing. So one of our biggest questions is to me and Zach is, hey, Rick, guys, what are the best virtual markets? So before I get into this, a lot of times your best virtual markets are places you have familiarity with. It's a big word. So if you went to school somewhere and you spent more time in there, like me. So I went to school in Tampa for a while when I went to college. I know Tampa well. My father lived there for a time, and I have a lot of friends that live there. And my daughter actually went to school there, so I'm familiar with Tampa. So to me, Tampa would be an easy virtual market. Plus, I have boots on the ground that help me out there. So if you lived in one place and now you live in another, you probably have an established footprint there. You know the values, you know people. Guys, I'm going to tell you, like, don't overthink this. A lot of times your virtual markets, unless it's in San Francisco, Manhattan, or Miami, if you are familiar with a particular market, you have an advantage. So always consider that when you're looking at your virtual market. But today we're going to talk about if we had to sit there and just pick which ones to do. Now, I'm going to show you how I got this data. And I'd like to tell you, I'm not super smart on this stuff. I just go where the money is. So if you just randomly pick a place, go like, say Boston, Massachusetts, unless you have a familiarity with it, you better know what you're doing, because that's a wild guess. And it's a pretty large metro area. And I definitely wouldn't start on a gut feel. So let's get into it. Let's figure this out and let's do this. Okay. So how do I pull this up here? Okay. Let me show you some information, because the question is always, how do you get this stuff? Actually, let's start with our markets and we'll pick our way through this, because we got to get this done. Because my favorite part is just talking to you guys, because I'm a problem solver, man. Like, I don't like talking in theory. Like, bugs the heck out of me. So let's start with the number 10 coming in. Now, what are the factors we look at to find a virtual market? So number one, I've always taught you how to reverse engineer a market. You want to find out which virtual market is, go where current wholesalers are having success. How do you do that? Simply go do a social media search. Facebook groups are some of the best, Facebook investor groups, and look for wholesalers to post their deals. I used to do this, so like, I'm guilty of this. I would post my deals online. Eventually, you have to put the address, the zip code, and then once you did that with the price, you basically gave every other wholesaler a blueprint of where to find the gold. And they still do it to this day. I still take advantage of it. We are in a society where everybody likes to brag. Everyone's bigger than what they say they are. And for that reason, if you bury your ego and take advantage of your competitors' egos, you can easily duplicate their success. So if there's fish in a pond and a guy's sitting there catching fish and he's showing fish pictures, that's probably one of the better places to fish. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. So all you have to do is get on a wholesaler's cash buyers list, because 95% of the wholesalers do not vet their cash buyers list. That's why me and Zach teach you at freewholesaling.com exactly how to vet your cash buyers, so you don't get other wholesalers on it. You're looking for cash buyers, verified cash buyers. Once you get on that list, then you can easily track prices, addresses, and I like to track zip codes. Once I have that, I already know they're making money. I make sure their posts are current, and then I just reverse engineer and I go deeper in the data from there. But that's the easiest place to start in virtual markets. And most of these markets I'm mentioning you, I see a lot of success. I see a lot of people posting. So if your market pops up in here, I'm not picking on you. I'm not doing in that. Guys, we are in the United States of America. We share information, and we're here at Free Wholesaling. So the reality is most people won't take advantage of the stuff anyways. But if you want to, and I give you a head start in your researching market, I hope I just pop off a light bulb for you today. So let's start out and dive in. So the two criteria that I like to look for is affordability in the average price points, and I like to look at population. And those two pieces of data, you can search the internet for almost anything, and I will show you during this video on how to get that information. So number one popping up, let me take off the, let's see. I don't want to mix these things up. Okay, perfect. So on the first one, it is, yikes, Greenville, North Carolina. So look at the population. I like a population 50,000 or more, and I like a growing population. If you have a declining population, you need to take notes, because usually when people are leaving an area, it's for a reason. It's because they don't like the politics or the taxation of that state or that area, or the jobs are leaving that area. And for that reason, I like to look at building population. So if you look on here, 217,000 average ARV, after repair value, and the population 88. Guys, those are pretty low numbers compared to the average price. So the average price in the United States is just around 400 and dropping. I think it was 417 last I looked, but I think we're going to be sub 400 soon. So keep this in mind. And once again, I'm just giving you ideas here. So if I'm ratting out your market, if you're doing it the correct way, you have no worries. Okay, so that's coming in at number 10. So by the way, I know a lot of investors that do very well in Greenville. Greenville's always been known, in my opinion, but it is very up and coming. And you're going to notice a trend with a lot of the stuff. So the next one is Arkansas, Little Rock. I mean, guys, look at this ARV, under 200,000 and you got a population of 200,000 plus, guys, this thing's a gold mine. Like, I love this because people are flocking to it. People like the weather there. Obviously, I think they get a little bit of snow, probably in the northern part. But, and by the way, if you guys are doing like some of these markets, if you want to put a comment in it, don't like, hey, Rick, stop doing that. You're sharing my market. But remember, I go across the board. Okay. Population, 201,000. So if the minimum's 50,000, you're getting 4 times that exposure. So a high population, especially an increasing population, and low ARVs are great. I'm going to add one more factor after these next two. So my next market is Wisconsin. And I know I'm going to have people screaming at me because I got a lot of friends in Wisconsin. But the reality is, other than your really brutal cold winters, your price points are awesome. And guys, look at the population. That's insane. Over 500,000 people in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I mean, that is like, I would do anything for that population in my markets. I can't even sniff that. So even as crowded as Florida is, my markets do not even add up to be that. So keep it in mind. And at 180,000 ARVs, like, you're starting to see where some of the affordable housing is, because that's going to be one of the big crunches over the next 2 years in the United States is people are going to go to places they can afford to live, because there's some states that are just brutally expensive to live. New York, California, and really the Northeast is expensive, and the southern part of Florida is really expensive. And there's a lot of places in between there. So keep that in mind. But 569,000, I had a hard time even wrapping my head around that. So now I'm going to bring up some places that you would never even think to even look. So remember how I talk about like New York is challenging? I always say Manhattan, because Manhattan, let's face it, that is the primo of real estate. And if you've ever been there, you understand why, because there's nothing left. But there is hope in New York, and people are flocking to areas just outside the downtown area. Now, I'm not familiar geographically with New York, so please don't eat me alive, but I know how to pronounce it. Rochester, New York, over 200,000, 210 to be exact, and 218. I didn't even know that was possible in the state of New York. So I love doing these because I learned so much, because I got to do a lot of research. And I also correlate these with markets that other wholesalers are having success in. So those of you who say you can't do anything in New York, it's there. So somebody asked, what do you mean by a minimum of 50K population? What's that have to do with anything in the amount of leads you get? The reason why you want at least 50,000, because you have to have a robust market to sell your cash deals. The smaller the population gets, the less people want to buy there, because they feel like there's not enough buyers for it. And so a smaller population is harder to sell distressed assets like real estate, because there's less people. There's only a certain amount of people qualified and willing to pay cash and buy beat up properties. Once you get below 50,000, the population is very thin, and investors like to go where their money moves very fast. So our experience, anything below 50,000 it just takes a lot more time. It's just the truth. Anytime we contract a wholesale property with less than 50,000, it becomes problematic. Get below 40,000, it's very, very difficult. The reality is there's only so many people living there, and the demand's a lot lower. So hopefully that helps. Keep asking questions. I'll keep going on it. So the next one, I say Florida is almost impossible. There's still sections of Florida. I don't really call it Florida anymore, but it's up in the Panhandle. So that's a northern part of Florida that leads into Alabama, Georgia, and on the edge of Louisiana and South Carolina. So 322,000. A lot of people have flocked to the Panhandle. And my 10 years prior to this, the Panhandle, it was so dirt cheap, it was ridiculous. Now the ARV is 248. That was sub 100 when I started doing this. Actually, probably sub 50. So the growth is definitely, I've watched the growth come in the Panhandle. So a lot of people are asking, hey, Rick, is the Panhandle's good? Honestly, in my opinion, it's probably the only part of Florida that works if you are brand new to this business. You can do deals anywhere, but I'm just telling you, in my market, a lot of my price points are close to 500,000 in Florida. So we are approaching some early California numbers, and I want you to understand that. So let me show you a little bit where you can get some of this data. So you don't have to always believe me. And let me pull it up here. Let's share. Let's see if we can share it. So this one came from, what did I say? Rent Cafe. So they only put out a report like twice a year. No, I don't pay for any premium services because I have other premium services that I value over this. But what I like to do is you can look at a lot of things. So this right here, you can do a rental analysis. Rick, what do you care about rentals? Rentals tell you where the hottest places where people want to live. And then if you look down on this one, you can look at the occupancy. And when you see a high occupancy, that's how they kind of rank them. And they look at lease renewals. Now, I'm not a big fan of that one. It doesn't really make sense. But what this does, it tells you trends where the hottest places people want to live. Now, you got to take the information you want out of this. Obviously, you see San Diego, you see Miami on this, you see Orlando. Guys, these are like really big markets, and those aren't the ones I concentrate on. So if I go down here, where is it? I think there's another page on it. I like looking at the hottest small size rental markets, and I look for ones with populations of 50,000 or more. And this is where you can start some of your idea and thinking if you want to do a virtual market. So you see these occupancy rates, it gives you ideas. Now, I would stay away from Palm Beach for obvious reasons because it's really expensive. So if you look at occupancy rate and trending populations and where the hottest places are to live, they do a competitive score, and you can add this to your spreadsheet. I think it gets a little bit much, but these are ideas. And why I look at rents, because rents are quick. So it's going to identify the fastest housing population much faster than when people buy and sell properties, because that takes 6 to 12 months for those reports to wash out. So that's a good place to start. Guys, there's a million other places that you can look at for data. I don't want you to overwhelm yourself on data. Because here's the problem with all data. You've got to understand it's dated. So most data you're looking can be between 3 and 6 months behind. So the policies that are enacted by our federal government, aka the Federal Reserve, technically not them, that's another debate. We're now starting to see some of the longer term effects of raising interest rates over 120 days. I believe like it's 100 plus days. So they just raised them again the other day. And so now we're starting to see some of the trickle down effect. As I've always told you, real estate is very slow to go up and even slower to go down. So we are just now on the tip of the iceberg, and it is just now starting, and you got to understand that. That cafe is, that website is Rent Cafe. It just gives you trends. The reason why I use rents is because rent information data will populate much faster than for sale information on regular single family homes. That's usually lagging at least 1 quarter, if not 2 quarters behind. The rent stuff, you can get like 30 to 45 days behind. It's just a little bit faster. Remember, guys, it's just a tool. That's all they are, is tools. Eventually, you disseminate the information, and you want to go with what you have the highest confidence in. So let's move on to the next one. This has never been a secret, guys. Pretty much all of Ohio is one of the cheapest places to buy single family homes. Dayton, Ohio, population 137, ARV of 113. Now that ARV has gone up like 30-40% that I've watched over the last 5 years. It doesn't scare me because my average home is 500,000 plus Florida. Now, I'm going to warn you, every wholesaler seems in America seems to operate out of Ohio. You got Columbus, Dayton, like it's endless. And remember, Ohio is much more established. The one thing you have to watch in Ohio you got to watch the economic trends on jobs. So with the change of some of the auto manufacturing and some of the manufacturing jobs, you just want to make sure you don't have a heavily declining population. There are parts of Ohio where towns are declining. I'm not an expert on it. You need to look into it. So be careful. Do not just be sucked in on price. But Ohio, for the most part, I know it's going to sound bad. I'm just going to say it. People from Ohio were raised in Ohio by their parents. Nobody goes, hey, I just want to live in Ohio. I've never met someone that goes, hey, I just want to live in Ohio. I find more people in Florida are from Ohio and they come here. Now, it's a great state. People are super nice in Ohio. That one, I wish you could teach everybody in Florida how to do it because they have manners and everyone's polite. And I think everyone looks out for their entire community, which I love Ohio for that. I don't like the cold. It gets very cold. And you have to do this strange thing us Floridians don't understand. It's called winterizing your boat. And that makes no sense to me at all. I want to use a boat year round. But if you can deal with the weather, Ohio, the spring and the summer are Florida, in my opinion. But that's it. It's really good. So the price points are awesome. I've done a lot of deals in Ohio. I've JV'd all of them because I'm not familiar with the local pricing. So I find someone who has a really good size operation and try to see if they can move the inventory in that. So let's move on to number 4. Did I not push the button? And that's Birmingham, Alabama. And dude, this, like, I just think the entire state of Alabama is right. So it's great weather. People like it. They like the taxes there. They like the political environment. Jobs are pouring in. Companies are pouring in there. And population almost 200,000, which is a major increase. And then the ARV at just above 100,000. If you are in that local market, you need to be running hard because these prices aren't going to last. So this is one of the markets where you're not going to see a giant downward trend, in my opinion, because people are flocking to affordable markets. And if you're in that market and you're doing wholesaling, it is phenomenal. Now, I'm going to get into other ones where I know a lot of you guys are doing business. Remember, I'm giving the honest truth on how I would rank these markets. And I told you the factors. I did population, the ARV, and I did the hotness of the market, meaning people want to live there. Like it's smoking hot, rentals are through the roof, and they go from there. Now, you notice the trend a lot south or like the extreme north. Take it for what it is. It's just data, and you can reverse engineer. Chattanooga, Tennessee, 182K population, ARV 288. Now it's a little bit higher, guys. This number has exploded in the last few years. But the thing is, it's super, super, super desirable. So if you can get average median price points, and I got to tell you, the people in Tennessee are nicer or as nice as the people in Ohio. Like I've never met a person from Tennessee I didn't like. So they definitely got that going for it. And it's really good weather. They get a little bit of snow, but you get the mountains. You're still able to get down to the Florida and like the Caribbean. So it's kind of like the perfect location. And they've had a huge explosion in population and the tax environment's right. For growth, it's just phenomenal. And they got a lot of vacant land. Not a lot of the vacant land, but there's plenty more available. So we are wrapping up to the final 2. I promise we're getting there. And Ohio, I like this one. Ohio man is the new Florida man. I got to tell you, man. So you guys know I like football, but like whenever my teams would play like Ohio State and stuff, it just, although I don't like the Buckeyes, the fans actually, they're pretty good. Like I can't, they're much more accommodating than the fans in Florida. I'm just saying. So that goes for UM and University of Florida, which are the teams I like, but they're just respectful. We can learn something from people. Okay. So let's get to the top 2 and let's start talking to people, man. So this one's no secret. I've said it before. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, my Michigan peeps, don't yell at me. But if I'm going to be transparent, I got to tell the truth. I don't hide markets. Full disclosure, I'm active in these markets. So I never look at anything as saturation. Whoever wants to go out and get the business and does it best, but almost 200,000 in ARV at 262, that number has gone up substantially in the last 3 years. And with a final drum roll, we're rolling on to the last one, which is going to be Fort Wayne, Indiana. I've known this little secret for a long time. I verified this through the reverse engineering technique I taught you by other wholesalers' egos. And at a population over 250, 265 to be exact, and an ARV of 205, Indiana is wide open. I mean, and it's just not Fort Wayne, guys. Take a look around it. I love it. It is a favorable environment. It does get a little bit cold there. So once again, make sure you analyze the populations in the town or the city you're looking to do business with. And you're going to have to make a decision on the economics of it, because sometimes some of these towns up in the north, they can still have declining populations. As long as you have a big base and you're not teetering on that like 50, 40,000 number, you should be fine. But heed the warning, because I know Ohio has certain sections that are retracting because people are moving out because it's not a favorable business environment, meaning they were initially set up for factory jobs and now they switched to more of service jobs and online. So you've got to understand that. So guys, those are my top 10. I told you the biggest thing, hold on. The biggest thing you've got to understand is these are virtual markets. No person has a, what can I say on it? A monopoly on them. So I have people who come in my markets. You guys know exactly which markets I'm in. And it is what it is. I can't stop people. I don't get mad about it. And honestly, I embrace the competition and I just make sure me and my team are up to par so we can try to beat out anyone who wants to play ball with us. And understanding when you go to virtual markets, you are at a slight disadvantage if you don't know that local market. And so you have to move with greater speed. You have to create urgency and you have to be willing to learn that market. On average, on a virtual market, it usually takes about 3 months to even get it profitable and dialed in. And for those of you looking to do virtual markets, because you're in Miami, you're in Manhattan, you're in San Francisco, that's fine. It just takes some time and you're going to make mistakes. It's no big deal. You just have to progress and move forward. And I always tell you, if you're doing virtual markets, you should always be doing your local markets, even if you're in Miami, Manhattan, because you know the lay of the land, you know the people. And when an opportunity strikes, you have the weapons to take the deals down if it deems a wholesaling deal. So